It is common nowadays to create a separate DLL that contains shared logic for applications. That way, you have a centralized assembly that contains the compiled code. You also have one project where you can write and debug that shared code. In .NET, you create a class library to accomplish this. When you compile that class library, it generates a DLL. I'm inside Visual Studio, and I've opened this solution called Create Class Library. There are two projects already in here. There's a Visual Basic Console application, and there is a WPF application that's written in C#. Now I'm going to add a shared library. I'm going to go to the solution, right-click, and choose to add a new project. I'm then going to choose this class library template and then type in the name text library for the name, and then click OK. Now I'm going to compile the application and show you what happens. When I build this solution, it's going to compile all three projects. And if I right-click on the text library and choose Open Folder in Windows Explorer, you'll see that if I drill down into the bin folder and then the debug folder, that it's creating this DLL. Now I'm going to come back to this folder in a minute. Let me switch to Visual Studio. I'm going to generate a class called Lorem Generator, which generates random sentences of Latin words. So I think I should rename this class file. So I'll come over here to my project and type in Lorem Generator, and then press Enter. Visual Studio then prompts me and asks me if I would also like to rename the class inside that file. That seems like a great idea to me, so I'm going to click Yes. And now you see that it has this new Lorem Generator class. I'm not going to write all the code today live. I do have the code up here in this Assets folder. There's a TXT file in here, which I'm going to double click on. And then I'm going to copy all the code in this class. Then back to my Lorem Generator.cs file. And then I'll replace these three lines of code. Control V. I won't go through all the code, but let me just point out that there are two methods I'm going to use. The getWords method, where I pass the number of words in, and it gives me back, say, 8 words. And a getSentence, which has the same parameter, but this time, of course, it's going to put a period on the end of that sentence. Now I'm ready to use this. This is a C# library. I'm going to go to my Visual Basic application and add a reference to this library. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to choose to add a reference. And I'm going to click the Browse button, and then I'm going to go back to Windows Explorer and copy this path to that debug folder. Copy it, Control C, switch back here. I'm going to paste it down here where it says File Name, and then press Enter. And there's the DLL that I want to have the reference to. So I'll choose that one and then click OK. Now just for good measure, I'm going to recompile my application and click Yes here. So now when I compile this application, it's telling it to make sure that I can use the code that's inside that DLL. And let's use it. I'm going to double click on module1.vb. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to declare an instance of that generator. dimg as new text library. There's my namespace. There's my class. Now I'm going to write to the console. And I'll also read from the console. Next, I'm going to go into line 6, and I'm typing in g.get sentence. And let's say I want 8 words out of that. All right, let's test this out. Debug, start debugging. And there's my randomly generated sentence, including the period on the end. Next, I'm going to switch over to the C# application. That would be this one down here, WPF client. And I'm going to open the main window.xaml.cs file. Then inside my constructor, I will declare the C# version of that variable, var g equal new. Well, this isn't going to work because I forgot one step. I forgot to add the reference to the library. See, I'm getting a red squiggle here. So let me comment this code out and then go over to my references folder and show you an alternative way of adding a reference. Right click, add reference. Last time I browsed out and pointed to a physical location, but Visual Studio can simplify my life by letting me do something called a project reference. I click here, and then I say, whenever you compile this text library, I would like to know about it and get a fresh copy of that DLL. So I click OK here. And then if you scroll down and look at the reference here, you'll notice this is copy local equal true. So not only will it update the DLL, but it will copy the DLL into the same folder as my application. So when I deploy the app, I've got both files. Now that I've added that reference, I can go back to this code that wasn't working before, uncomment it, and then go to this line. There's the text library I was looking for, and then period, and there's the lorem generator. And then finally, var words equal g.get words. And there's my new function. So the takeaway from this is both the Visual Basic application and the C# application are sharing the code that's inside that text library DLL. And as you can see, it is very easy to add references to other libraries in Visual Studio, and that the class library template provides a trouble-free way to make that custom library.